Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Open Book. I am Billy Price, co-founder of Billy Footwear. And for those out you that are not familiar with Open Book is an amazing way for us to be able to share a little bit about the brand, but also share the relationships and the collaborations and the partnerships that we have with amazing organizations and amazing people. So today we are absolutely blessed and honored to be able to have Lynette LaScala. I hope I said that right. Lynette, did I say that right?
You did. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. We have Lynette joining us today. She is the CEO and CEO and founder of NAPA Center. Lynette, welcome.
Thank you so much, Billy.
You know, Lynette, there are so many things that I am excited to ask you about because what I've looked at on the NAPA Center and just talking, having you and I talk ahead of time, what you guys are doing is absolutely incredible. And I know that, the start of the NAPA Center, it was quite a journey to get there, but a lot of it had to do with the journey that you and your son went through to get to this point. So I think a great place to start our conversation. Let's talk about Cody.
All right. Well, Billy, thank you so much for having me. And I can't tell you how excited I'm here to be here because NAPA and Billy shoes were built the same way. It was built, they were both built out of need and strong determination. And I just want to thank you for my son, Cody, because he is so excited, and not just Cody, but all the other children and adults with disabilities that no longer have to wear nerdy shoes.
Isn't that the truth? I remember being on the playground growing up, and if someone was wearing something weird, people would call that out. So anyway, we can kind of tear down that wall between these two spaces and make something that works for everybody. And we can all be successful. It's always a good thing.
Yes, that was always Cody's number one thing was fashion and not being able to wear cool shoes, especially with his AFOs. I mean, the first thing he did when he turned 18 was threw away his AFOs so he could wear shoes. It's horrible. I'm a strong believer of everything happens in your life for a reason. And many parents and grandparents and caregivers, they really cringe when they hear me say that. But it was the only way I could go on with my life after my son's near-drowning accident. I found Cody lifeless at the bottom of our brand new pool. My nanny had him as I was packing to go to the water park for his first birthday. And like almost all near-drowning accidents, 2 adults in the home, one thinks the other has him. I pulled him from the pool, started CPR while I was begging God to bring him back to me. And he did. And I knew that God gave him back to me for a reason. And everything had happened for a reason. And I had to take it and make the best of it. Mm-hmm. Paramedics took Cody to Desert Hospital in Palm Springs. For after 30 minutes, they had a very faint heartbeat. Took him to Loma Linda. After 3 or 4 days, the doctors gave us little hope, but they didn't think he'd make it through the night. But Cody kept hanging on. He wasn't ready to let go, and neither was I. The chief surgeon took us into the little room and told us that we should go out the door and forget that we had him and leave him in the hospital and go on with our lives because I was 5 months pregnant with Brian and we should just enjoy our new baby and forget we had him. And as a parent, that's not something you can do. And so we were homebound, and I got home and we had a suction machine and a feeding monitor, a feeding tube, heart monitor, and I learned how to take care of Cody at home. Of course, I was lost, and I turned to my local library. We didn't have the internet, and I was looking for anything on what to do with brain injuries, and I found this book called What to Do with Your Brain Injured Child by Glenn Doman. And it was all about neuroplasticity and bombarding the brain with information. It was a home program. You go to Philadelphia and you were in this room with 30 other parents. It was kept 54 degrees. You were told to bring winter coats. So your brain was alert because they were 10 and 12-hour days. 5 days they took your child, and you would go home and you would do this crazy program, which was bombarding the brain with information and patterning. The patterning required 3 people, one at the head and one on each side of the body, and you would put the body through a crawling motion. And so where they found that kids that didn't crawl, they have breathing problems, it's basically the first time the right and left hemispheres connect. So if a kid could not crawl, you would actually put him through this motion. So we had over 60 volunteers that came into the house, and 2 would come each hour to patter him between hot packs, cold packs, brushing, masking, banging pots and pans, scaring him with boat horns, creeping, crawling on his incline board, reading cards, bits of encyclopedia knowledge. We just never stopped. Every minute of the waking hour, we were feeding his brain with information. It was a very intense program, and we were on it for almost 2 years. And then at that point, we ended up divorced, and my husband left, and I was kind of on my own. We didn't really see him much in his physical development, but he was in a semi-comatose state when we started, and now he was laughing and totally aware of his surroundings, and he can manipulate everyone at any time, and he's an expert at it, and he still is today. But he could do algebra in his head. I mean, the program was amazing, but his physical development was a little plateaued, and it plateaued for about 6 years. At the age of 11, Cody was chosen by Starlight Children's Foundation to be their 1,000th wish kid. And the reason he was chosen is because you put in your wish, and Cody's wish was to go downhill skiing as fast as he could. And most of the other kids were really a cruise or Disneyland, and they're like, no, we're going to do the downhill skiing. So we went, and they trained him for 3 days, and then he went and he got to go skiing, and he rolled the bi-ski. He's amazing, but he definitely is he can take any situation and he can make it dangerous. And instead of being very calm, cool, and collected, he wants to go as fast as he can and see what he can do. I think he's kind of like his mom.
Yeah, but he's a kid. He's a man after my own heart. I love that stuff.
Yeah. So this was filmed on Extra TV. So the Starlight Make-A-Wish Foundation 1,000 kid, and we're in front of the TV waiting for his segment to come up, and it gets bumped. And on the screen it says, "New Hope for Children with Cerebral Palsy in Mielno, Poland." And it talked about this program and this intense therapy program, and how this family from California went, and the child said their first words, and it was this amazing intensive program that you would go and do 4 to 6 hours a day of therapy. So we went, and Cody had great PT in Iowa, but typical PT, you get 30 minutes twice a week, if you're lucky, twice a week. And then they wonder why therapy doesn't work for children with disabilities. So that we were trying to get meaningful weight exchange. You could put Cody up against the wall, but if you tapped him, he'd fall over. He had no weight exchange from the right to the left hip, right hip to the left hip. So he came back from his first intensive session with meaningful weight exchange, which changed his life, because now the steps that he knew how to move his feet before, became meaningful. After 9 trips, when we started, he drove a power chair with a head array like this. Okay. And after 9 sessions, he was walking with minimal assistance.
That's totally incredible.
Changed his life, and it became my mission to figure out how to get it to the US. Right. And it actually was, so Cody was walking with minimal assistance. I needed backup. And then when he was 21, he had a neck surgery, and the neck surgery paralyzed him, and he lost everything that he had gained. And so we had started back therapy, but the problem with therapy now is when Cody walked, he would take a step, he always threw himself back. And every time he threw himself back, he would put that stenosis in danger again and cause a lot of pain. So that's why Cody now, he's in a power chair, but he can't really be put through the therapy. And he's okay with it. He loves his life. He lives in Santa Monica. He's in a power chair, and he's doing really well. As a parent, you only wish your child is happy and lives a great life and is really enjoying life. And Cody enjoys his life immensely. So on his 21st birthday, when we were in the hospital, when he got paralyzed, he was determined that he wanted to go gambling. So I got a day pass. Even though he was in his neck brace and everything else, I dressed him, and we took him down to the river boats, and I took him to the casinos from the hospital with the day pass, and he gambled. Well, I was hoping that he was going to lose his tush so he wouldn't like gambling. Of course, he won $700 that day.
Best laid plans. Love it.
Thinks he's a professional gambler. But it was an amazing day. But so another family had started a small clinic in LA, and they were trying to do the intense therapy program. I mean, people were trying to copy it because the families that were going were like, why are we not doing this here? And so I was teaching at the time. The guy wanted me to come and work for him. So I was living in Iowa, and I was the marketing director. And he kept trying to get me to take the keys, and I kept saying no. I went to business for 9 years, and I know if you're the owner, you're the last one to get paid.
Oh, yeah.
So finally, he came in on a Friday. It was after a year, and he said, we're closing the doors, and I can't pay the therapist. So none of our therapists were going to get paid. And the families, there's 7 families that were probably already in California from all over the U.S. that were going to come to the clinic to lock doors. And I just couldn't do that. So I took the keys, and 2 of those therapists that were students, and they were really good handlers. They were great, and I knew it. And I begged them to stay with me and to help start NAPA. And we did it. They're still with me today. Both of them they kind of oversee all the programs. Both of them obviously are executive administration. And 15 years, we've just been plugging away, and we went from, our small little clinic of 7 therapists to we're at 7 now, and we're going to be opening 2 more this year. And I have to say, when my son Brian joined me 3 years in, there's no way I would have grown to what we are today without Brian. He's an amazing business person. He was building databases for me when he was 14, when I was working for Euromed Poland. I was the parent representative, and we just worked really well together. We never planned that. We never said, let's start a business together. But now I have actually stepped down as the CEO, and Brian's been the CEO for the last year, and he's grown the company. And it's just in great hands because we have an amazing team. And as you know, Billy, if you can build a team under you, and once you get all your programs set and all your, not just your programs, but everything, HR, accounting, all those people in place, which before, when you started, you're the janitor, you're the accountant, you're everything. And so it's just been, I feel like I've had a lot of guidance from above, and I'm very, very blessed to be able to do something of making a difference in a lot of people's lives.
Let me pull this up on the screen here. napacenter.org. So I got to say, so when you go to the website and you talk about team, you go to the website, you look at the team, and you scroll down at all those faces. I kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. There are so many folks that are part of this team that make this up. Every single one of them in that position to want to add value. And I don't know. I mean, you just get overwhelmed, like just looking at the website. I've never been to the NAPA Center, but my gosh, like just the attitude and the drive to do something bigger than yourself. It just leaps off the page. So it's pretty incredible. I got to ask that the first clinic where you basically almost had to, you had to break in to keep the doors open for people to come in. Where was that located?
That was 2008 when the economy just took a dump, and it was the hardest time to start a business. And that was right in LA, right by the airport. And it's a mile and a half from where I am now. We moved up the street, but we started there, and it was like a warehouse with a big dome, and the airport planes went right over top of it. But we started there, and it didn't have any air conditioning. I mean, we were struggling. And at one point, there was 7 therapists, and we were going to have to lay someone off because we just couldn't make it. And so they all voted to go to 6-hour days. And we thought, kind of like COVID, it'd be for a month. And those 6-hour days were for a year, but they did that to stay as a team. And it didn't matter. They were all therapists. There was a couple of aides. They didn't care. They worked together as a team. And I think that was a great, great start to NAPA being a great team, was the challenges we had to face.
So you have 7 locations now, but it's not just, or 7 locations domestic, right? Because there's others that are abroad.
No, we have 5 domestic and then 2 in Australia. And then we're opening up London and another Brisbane in Australia this year, August, September. Yeah. So.
Wow. I mean, that is amazing. I mean, and is it a matter of, are you reaching out to others to be able to start, like to have new clinics start, or is it more there's other individuals out there that have found you and want to be able to like not only duplicate what you do, but really, well, I guess duplicate to really
Yeah.
use the same types of skills to be able to help their communities. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So when I was in Chicago, the general manager for Boston was there, and I was telling the story to our new therapist in Chicago, and she chimed in and said, yeah, if you have a crazy parent that comes up to your office, and she was one, came at the office, and there's so many of them, like, I want to open a clinic in, North Carolina or wherever. And it's just been really crazy since right now. Brian and I just met last week and had a whole list of people of where they want to open and what. And we really look at our demographics of where our patients are currently. And, it's just, that's kind of, we're trying to spread ourselves out to where we're not trying to open a clinic, 2 in California or whatever. I don't want to say that too loud because the people in Northern California would be really upset now. Yeah, that is. But, we're just trying to spread it out to make it easier for families to travel to us. We opened up LA, we opened up Sydney because we had so many Australians coming to LA that we couldn't really get any people from the US in. They were so good at getting in. And then we opened up Boston to kind of stop the people from the East Coast to come from LA. So then we opened up Austin to stop the people from Texas and Mexico and from over. So we've been strategically trying to alleviate the pressure of LA as we opened up new clinics. But now we have 5 different clinics that are training centers. And that's the biggest thing, that we train from within. And when a therapist starts with us, they don't start on that intensive team. They're usually 4 to 6 months or longer before they get to join the intensive team. And we put anywhere to $50,000 to $70,000 in each therapist training them before they start. So we really invest a lot of money into our therapists. So we treat them really good. We have really good leadership programs. We only promote from within. We don't promote from, so we know that, yes, we started NAPA, but NAPA is made by our therapists. Our therapy is only as good as our therapists. So that's really where we really focus. And of course, taking care of our parents, them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you're describing all that, your team becomes more than a team. It becomes a family, right? Because when you're talking about Cody's story, you're talking about your journey, you're talking about like the building of all the different centers at this point. Yeah. There's so many little aspects of it that I can kind of relate to through my own personal journey. And I remember being in the hospital, and I broke my neck when I was 18. It was 1996, and the internet really wasn't really rolling at that point. So it was very difficult to find communities out there that I could like potentially find a mentor or something like that. It was just more being in the hospital, going through the rehab, and then hopefully graduating from the hospital, and then going out there and trying to make a go of it. So only now does it make it so much easier to get connected. But my gosh, when you do get connected to folks and you find value in that, and you find like you've had success, boy, the word of mouth to be able to get people to drive to that entity and to, just encourage people to lean in. I mean, it's truly remarkable.
Yeah. And what you were saying about coming out of the hospital, it's like, you're kind of left on your own when you're out of the hospital. It's like, here you go, sink or swim. And it's not, from based on like celebrities and news people and whatever that have had the proper therapy for a year or 2 once they had an accident or something has happened. Yeah, they're up and they're walking and because they've had unlimited resources, but unfortunately it's not available to all of those. And like you said, now with the internet, at least people can find them and find grants and find things. But back then there was nothing. Like you said, in 96, it still wasn't people starting, but people still didn't have like websites.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Yes.
And one thing I found very, very quickly was in the hospital, the world's nice and flat. And as soon as you leave those doors, the world is not flat. So like all of a sudden, me as someone that uses a wheelchair, it's like, oh my goodness, this is a little bit different. But again, that the thing is though, even with those new challenges, I guess if you keep your mind and your direction, and you find that that supportive culture around you, they keep encouraging you.
Yeah.
And you just have like that trajectory of going like, okay, we've got direction here. We're going to try to make a go of it. And you just kind of don't look back. Or I guess I should rephrase that. You do look back, but you don't let the back like hold you back.
Yeah.
You look back and you're like, okay, this is where I was and this is where I'm going. And then this is my team that's to help me get there.
You really can't dwell on the things that happened in the past or the things that could have done better or whatever that would be, because otherwise you'd spend all your time and energy back there instead of your time and energy moving forward. You have to just keep your focus. And even though some days you may have good days and bad days, and it's okay to have a bad day. And I think, parents don't sometimes give them, they don't give themselves that opportunity to say, it's all right, I'm having a bad day today, I may need extra time. I think now that we're so more aware of someone's mental health, that I think that, parents with children with disabilities, or those with disabilities, especially that as teenagers or young adults, I mean, that mental health was never addressed before. It's not like, here you go, you're going home with this child, or here you go, you're 18 years old and your life has changed forever. Good luck, So I think COVID's changed a lot of things, but everyone's very aware of mental health. And I would hope that now that we're aware of mental health, that people with disabilities and people that have had accidents and things like that their mental health is being addressed in a different way now. I would hope.
Absolutely. Well, I think this really ties into something I read on your website, and it's your values. And your 4 values that I looked at, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to call this out. So one is hope. The second is love. The third is share. And then lastly is grow. And that's really touching on everything you just mentioned.
Oh my gosh. That's what we put on our bags at NAPA. I was just like, wait, that's what we're saying. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And I think that that's one of the things that we really try to get parents to do. At NAPA is we put our parents, like when we were smaller, I was really good at it. We had a parent that was really hurting, that I would grab one of my strong parents and say, can you go over and help her? And they would create a bond, and it would help this one get through that, And so sharing is caring.
One thing, again, reminiscing on being an inpatient in the hospital, anytime I get the opportunity to thank a therapist, thank a nurse, thank a doctor, I always do, because there's so many times where it's such a thankless job. Someone comes in and then they leave or whatever, and you don't really see what's going to happen next. And one of the reasons that my heart just absolutely goes out to everyone in the medical space is me as the patient. I'll be coming in through those doors and I'm the one getting treatment. However, that therapist isn't just working with me. They're working with everyone else that came through that door, the whole family. And to be able to encourage, so for example, like for me, this injury has been tough, but it's been way harder on my parents. So when I come in through those gates to the hospital to do a therapy session, that therapist is working with the whole unit. It's not just me, it's the whole collective unit. And they're the ones that need therapy as well, But but when we all work together, we all heal together. So anyway, it's touching heavily on what I could easily pick up on all those smiling faces on the napacenter.org of those therapists that make a part of the team.
Well, and I just want to say this to you, Billy, about your passion for what you do. I mean, you talk about changing lives. I mean, people may not look at shoes as changing lives unless you live the life, unless you're a parent of a child that has to put on those shoes, or you're struggling to get an AFO on. Do you know how long it would take me to get his shoes on in the morning? I mean, this is like, we needed these shoes so long ago. And the fact that you've created not only a shoe to help someone, these are great shoes. The ones that go zip all the way around. I mean, I'm just like, every time Cody has like 4 pair now, we're just like in love with him. Every time you have a new style, it's just like, you just keep coming up with them, and it's beautiful. So what you're doing, you're totally changing lives, and you totally have changed Cody's lives with your shoes.
Well, that kind of stuff absolutely warms my heart. And I love your comment, like, why didn't this happen like earlier and stuff like that? The first day I put my shoes on again, I was 36. I broke my neck at 18. So 18 years later, 2 things happened. One was I looked at my fellow co-founder, Darren, going, why did it take us 18 years to do this? I could have used this 18 years ago. But then secondly is we knew we had to share it, and we didn't know what that looked like, but we kind of threw it out there, and it's been remarkable how powerful word of mouth and building relationships can be. And I'm truly honored to be building a relationship with you, Lynette. I mean, and your entire organization. This has been really, really exciting.
Well, I went into Chicago, and there was small clinic we just started. I think that we have 11 therapists to start. So I met some of the parents, and there was at least 3 or 4 little kids that had Billy shoes already. So, and I make sure I call them out too.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Lynette, this has been tremendous. This has been so fun. I want to be respectful of your time. I will say that on the website, when you're talking about going into Cody's story, there is a little section right here that I need to read, because there's no way I can remember this, but it was absolute gold, and it touched me really to the heart. So I wanted to read this first, and then just give you the mic one more time. And it's kind of how you wrap up, or how Cody's story wraps up at the very, very end. And it's just one of those hard truths, but it's also, there's a lot of hope there. And it says, if you have a child with a disability, your life will be different. It'll be a challenge, and you'll have hurdles and mountains. After the storms, there will be the rainbows, and you'll be blessed with complete strangers reaching out to help you. When the road gets rocky and you feel like you can't go on, just remember, God only gives his special children to special people. You are chosen as a very special mother or father. You are very blessed, and will see so much beauty in the world. Be thankful and never give up. Absolutely poetic words. So, Lynette, I wanted to give you the mic one more time before we wave goodbye to our guests.
Thank you. That still makes me tear up, because I feel like I've met so many beautiful people in my life, and because of Cody, it's like, especially, now it's like there's so much crime and everything else going on, but the people that are going to be drawn to us to help us and do good, even with our companies, the people that really want to make a difference. We're really blessed to have these amazing people in our lives, and amazing therapists and amazing parents. And you, I'm blessed to have met you. And it's just like, you just got to count your blessings. It may not be what you wish for. Count your blessings.
Amen.
Yeah. Thank you, Billy.
Lynette, thank you so much for your time today. Everyone else, thank you for tuning in. This is another episode of Open Book. We will have another one real soon. Until then, take care.